Okay, get this. In 1925, one of the most famous explorers on the planet walks into the Amazon rainforest searching for a lost city and is never, ever seen again. For nearly a century, the scientific world called him a madman, said he was chasing a fantasy. But here's the thing, they were wrong. So let's dive into this absolutely wild story of how a century-old mystery was finally solved by lasers from the sky. Right, so our story kicks off in 1925. We're talking about Lieutenant Colonel Percy Fawcett, a seriously tough-as-nails British explorer. He, his son Jack, who was only 22, and Jack's best friend Raleigh Rimmel, they all head into this massive, uncharted part of Brazil. I mean, on the maps, it was just a blank space. And their mission? To find a legendary lost civilization that Fawcett had a name for, Z. On May 29th, Fawcett sends one last message back with a local guide. It's a letter to his wife, Nina, and it's just haunting. He tells her not to worry, that he feels he's so close to his goal. And then, poof, the three of them, their animals, everything, they just walk deeper into that green darkness. And they vanish. I mean, completely. No bodies, no gear, not a single note was ever found. Nothing. Now, you gotta understand, Fawcett was like a rock star explorer back then. So when he disappeared, it became this huge global obsession. What happened next was just this unbelievable series of rescue missions. Over the next few decades, more than 100 different people launched expeditions into the Amazon to try and find him. But you know, the jungle, it doesn't give up its secrets. And here's the really tragic part. The search for Fawcett became almost as deadly as his original journey. It's estimated that dozens of these would-be rescuers also died out there. They were wiped out by disease, starvation, run-ins with uncontacted tribes. They died hunting for a man who died hunting for a city. So the big question is, why? Why were Fawcett and so many others willing to risk it all? Well, it all boiled down to this one man's absolute, unshakable belief. A belief that pretty much the entire scientific world at the time thought was just pure insanity. And this really gets to the heart of the whole conflict. On one side, you've got Fawcett, who is totally convinced he's found proof of a massive, sophisticated city. And on the other side, you have pretty much every scientist on Earth. Their argument was simple. The soil in the Amazon is terrible for farming. They called it a counterfeit paradise. Yeah, it's beautiful, but it's also deadly and barren. No way a large civilization could have survived there. They would have just starved. Fawcett's obsession didn't just come out of nowhere, though. It built up over years and years. He first heard these local legends about great ruins from indigenous tribes way back in 1906. But the real smoking gun for him, the thing that made him go all in, was a document he found in 1920 called Manuscript 512. It was this old text from 1753 written by Portuguese explorers, and it described finding a massive, abandoned city of stone deep in the jungle. For Fawcett, that was it. That was all the proof he needed. So for almost 100 years after he disappeared, science basically said, case closed, Fawcett was wrong. That whole counterfeit paradise theory was taught in every university. But there was this one nagging little clue, a strange thing they found in the dirt itself that they just couldn't quite explain. And this is it, terra preta. It literally means dark earth. And this stuff is amazing. It's a jet black, man-made soil that is unbelievably fertile. It doesn't happen naturally, people have to create it over centuries. So finding huge patches of this stuff all over the Amazon meant that logically, large permanent communities had to have been farming the jungle for a very, very long time. It was a direct contradiction to the official story. But even with the terra preta evidence, the scientific consensus didn't really change. Fawcett was still seen as this romantic failure, and his city of Z was a myth. The case was basically closed. The science was settled. That is, until we invented a way to literally see through the trees. So how did this whole mystery finally get solved? Well, it took a piece of technology that Fawcett couldn't have even dreamed of, a total game changer that could finally settle the debate, once and for all. It's called LiDAR, and the easiest way to think about it is like an X-ray for the jungle. A plane flies over, shoots millions of laser pulses down at the ground, and by measuring how long they take to bounce back, a computer can digitally erase every single tree, every leaf, and give us a perfect 3D map of the ground hidden underneath. For the first time, we could see the forest floor. And this is where the story gets really good. In 2018, scientists flew a LiDAR-equipped plane over the Upper Exingu region, the exact same corner of the Amazon where Percy Fawcett and his team vanished all those years ago. What were they going to find? Was it just empty jungle, like everyone said? What they found wasn't just a surprise. It was a bombshell. It completely changed everything we thought we knew about the history of the Americas. It didn't just prove Fawcett right, it revealed an entire lost world. What that LiDAR saw, hidden beneath that dense green canopy, it was just staggering. It wasn't just one city, it was an entire civilization, a sprawling network of villages, towns, and even large urban centers, all connected by these perfectly straight roads or causeways that ran for miles. They found these massive earthworks carved into the land, perfect squares, circles, hexagons. This wasn't wild jungle, this was a planned, engineered landscape on a scale that's hard to even imagine.
And to put that into perspective, let's talk about the population. Before LiDAR, the best scientific guess was that the entire pre-Columbian Amazon had fewer than 1 million people. Today, the estimates start at 8 million and go as high as 50 million people. This just shatters that myth of a pristine, untouched wilderness. The Amazon wasn't empty. It was a bustling, managed garden and one of the most populated places on Earth.
The conclusion was just undeniable. Percy Fawcett, the man they called an obsessive, an eccentric, a madman, he had been right the entire time. The Amazon wasn't an empty wilderness. It was the graveyard of a massive civilization. So the great scientific mystery of the lost city of Z was finally solved. But the one thing that LiDAR couldn't do was answer that final, heartbreaking human question. What in the world actually happened to Percy Fawcett? I mean, now that we know his obsession was real, the question of what happened to him is even more powerful. Did he actually find it? Did he see what he was looking for in his final moments? Over the last century, a few main theories have popped up. The most likely one is that he and his team were killed by a local tribe that saw them as a threat. Another strong possibility is that the jungle just won, that they died of disease or an injury or simply starved. And then, of course, there's the most romantic idea, that he found his city, and after being ridiculed by the world for so long, he just decided to stay. The truth is, we'll probably never know for sure. The crazy part is, the LiDAR that proved Fawcett right has only scanned a tiny fraction of the Amazon. It showed us that a man who was dismissed as a fool was actually a visionary, 100 years ahead of his time. And it really makes you wonder, if an entire civilization of millions of people could stay hidden for 500 years, what other so-called fantasies are just out there, waiting for the right piece of tech to prove them true? What else is hiding in plain sight?